I was juggling all these things and found that my true passion was traveling. So with that property, I put it on Airbnb that summer. We have something called the Calgary Stampede, and I got $400 a night for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. I'm like,
Wow.
how the heck did I just
Cool.
make 4 grand in 10 days? And I didn't even do anything for it. Paid for my vacation, went to Mexico with my best friend Sean at the time, and went to Las Vegas and had some fun and whatever else. And I fell in love with traveling, making money online. I felt free, and I really love to accommodate people. I like to make people happy, and I wanted to be able to get into the space without having to keep buying property.
Hello and welcome to Trillions. I'm your host, Alyse Grace, and today I'm chatting with founder of Bnb Concierges, Braydon Ross. Braydon has over $1 billion worth of Airbnbs under management and is just 25 years old. He started by creating a TV streaming business, then a social media marketing agency. He did so well he was hand-selected to work with Tai Lopez. Braydon then bought his first property at 21, rented it on Airbnb, then decided he could manage other people's properties, found a business partner, and Bnb Concierges was born. On the podcast, we discuss how Braydon gained over 700 properties and how he manages them and makes a full-time income from Airbnb. Listen up. Braydon Ross, otherwise known as Mr. Airbnb from Canada, welcome to the Trillions podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm pumped to be on here.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. So you got started with your whole journey with TV streaming, is that right? Can you tell us a bit about Rossbox and what it was and how you got into creating that?
Reminds me of like what you just said, and this is off the cuff, but the Nardwar guy or whatever, he like interviews celebrities but knows everything about them. So when he goes to interview them, they're going like, "How do you know this stuff?" I wasn't expecting you to ask that. So yeah, Rossbox. Let's rewind 4 years ago. So 4 years ago, I was in university, just my last year, but I
Yeah.
never finished. Never got my full degree. Just
What were you studying?
accounting.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't that exciting. That's why I left. So I started a company called Rossbox. My brother showed me this little Android box he bought one day, and he's like, "Hey, I'm like streaming all these movies and TV shows, and it's totally legal because I'm not uploading or downloading content." I'm like, "But you do know what happened with the LimeWire guy, right?" He's like, "Yeah, but I'm not uploading or downloading the content." So
How
I'm
did
like,
it work? Exactly.
What's that?"
How did it work?
So how that works is they go to it, without getting like nitty gritty. It basically runs on unlike an iOS device. iOS is very restrictive to only being able to download apps that are on the App Store. On Samsung or Android, you can download apps from anywhere on the internet. So
Mm-hmm.
you have these third-party developers that created a system software called Kodi, which was pretty well known, Kodi, at the time. And you would have these little apps built within there, and those apps would scrape the internet for copies of TV shows and movies and all these things. So I made sure that I was compliant, and I was basically just selling the box, and then people had to figure out kind of like the next steps. You can guide people, but you can't be doing it for
Yeah.
them. Although they're not downloading or uploading, they were streaming content, just like I could do on my laptop. Now, is it preferred by the cable companies? No, but I realized there was a need for people to cut their cable bill, and just work off internet, whether that's Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, whatever is out there. It's just like people want a variety without having to pay a lot for their cable. So started Rossbox, started in my parents' basement,
Yeah.
and I started learning how to develop what are called repositories. And these are like little apps in the Android system. I knew nothing about coding developing, so it was really boring to learn. And as it started to develop and I started learning how the system worked, I could actually sell a product. So I'd buy these boxes. At the time, I didn't have enough money to buy from like Alibaba and private label them or anything like that. So I went to Amazon, and I tried to be clever with it. I found these boxes that said R box on it. I was like, shit, that's Ross box. It's close
That's
enough.
cool. Yeah.
So I bought an R box, and I started learning the different softwares and what was good and what wasn't. I didn't have any money for Facebook ads, Google ads. I knew nothing about it. So I hopped on a local buy and sell group that was like full of like moms basically. They're stay-at-home moms because I knew they talked the most, and I would basically book appointments for obviously what a lot of the guys in the area, they're married to like oil and gas guys, so they're stay-at-home moms. They want TV for their kids, and I'm like, okay, let's do free demonstrations. So I'd hop over to people's houses, drive over there in my little 2006 Kia Rio at the time, which blew up on the road anyway, and I would do free demos in their houses, and at the end I would sell them on the box. Hey, did you guys like it? This is how much it is. I'll give you a deal. So they get a keypad and then the box, and it was like $200, and my cost on that was like $80. And so I realized really quick e-commerce was one way that I could make money, and that took off over the summer. My car did blow up, so I was bike riding around with a
Oh
backpack
my
for
God.
yeah. And so long story short, saved up some cash and bought my first property that following January.
And how old
And
were you when you bought that?
what's that?
How old were you when you bought your first property?
That was 3.5 years ago now. So I'm only 25 right now. So
Oh,
I
crazy.
was like, well, it was like I was actually 21. I was just turning 22. So yeah, basically 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago roughly, and I put it on Airbnb that following summer,
Yeah.
and the rest is history with that. So there was some intermediary things that I was doing. Social media marketing. Came across a Ty Lopez ad, like everybody else, and like
I loved Ty like three, four
yeah.
years ago. I was all over it.
Yeah, so I didn't know who he like. Honestly, I didn't know who he was. He released 67 Steps in like 2015
Yeah.
during Halloween, and like then he came out with SMMA, and SMMA was his biggest program. Like there's over 50,000 students that came through there, and I remember I'm like, hey, this is something I want to do. Social media marketing. I already am on social media, and business owners want this. I was
Hmm.
running Rossbox. I'm like, let's do another business at the same time. So I started it, and my first client was my mom's boss. She's actually works at a dental clinic, and basically her boss owns 3 dental clinics. So I said, hey Jeff, can I do your SEO? I didn't even know what the hell SEO was at the time. Can I do your SEO? Can I do your social media management? And can I do your videography? Everything I could do. And so I learned fast that I could outsource a lot of the work that I didn't need to learn how to do. I didn't really want to be doing like SEO and email marketing, all that
Were you
stuff.
doing
So
all the videos yourself or did you outsource that right away?
I had a friend in town that would help me out with that because I wasn't a
Yeah.
videographer either.
It's a
I
lot
just
it's
loved
a lot of work too to do all of what you just said all by yourself. Yeah.
learned that the hard way. So I basically signed a $35,000 deal in my first week of doing SMMA. And it was like life changing for me because I never made that much money. And that was for 3 months for 3 clinics at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, holy cow, like, what do I do with this? So I found a team of guys on Upwork to help me with a lot of the digital marketing. And they basically took half the amount, but got everything done in terms of the SEO and email marketing and pretty much everything digital. So I wasn't doing very
Cool.
much. I realized I could delegate everything, make money, and get good results and keep the client happy. So I kept expanding the SMMA business, but found that I wanted to brand myself other than others. And so that's where I went. And I was juggling a lot of things, like a new entrepreneur. I was doing like my Ross box. I had my SMMA. I was investing in Bitcoin. I was doing Bitcoin mining. And then I also was doing I was super into fitness. I was competing back in the day, like roughly while I was in
Nice.
university. So I was really into fitness. I don't know what happened now, but back then I was super into it. And so I was juggling all these things and found that my true passion was traveling. So with that property, I put it on Airbnb that summer. We have something called the Calgary Stampede, and I got $400 a night for a 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment. I'm like,
Wow.
how the heck did I just
Cool.
make $4,000 in 10 days? And I didn't even do anything for it. Paid for my vacation, went to Mexico with my best friend Sean at the time, and went to Las Vegas and had some fun and whatever else. And I fell in love with traveling, making money online. I felt free, and I really love to accommodate people. I like to make people happy, and I wanted to be able to get into the space without having to keep buying property because I was like, shoot, I spent all my money on buying, putting a deposit on this first property, and I really had nothing left. So I was like, hey,
Mm.
well, I got to build up again and again and again. What if I just rent a property off somebody? I find it on RentFast or Kijiji or Facebook Marketplace, and I just get their permission to re-rent the property on Airbnb and give them like a 10% revenue
Yeah.
increase on whatever I pull in. So I got my first client like 2 weeks after thinking of that idea when I came back in July.
And he or she agreed to renting you the property to do Airbnb. Why wouldn't they just do Airbnb themselves?
They were a real estate investor. They had multiple properties. So they were just too busy and they didn't want to deal with like the headache of having to deal with the customer communication, the cleaning delegation. If there's a dispute, they don't want to deal with that. They was like, I want this hands off. Just pay me my $1,650 a month and then pay me 10% on whatever revenue you bring in. So if you bring in $4,000, I get an extra 400. So it made
Mm.
sense. And so I did that. I was cleaning the Airbnbs myself for like a
Yeah.
good year. And then what happened was they were keeping track. I didn't read the bylaws. I was in a condo, and they were keeping track of all the times that my guests came in. And I get a call saying, "Hey, we're gonna find you $200 every time we found a guest coming in.
Oh
You're not allowed to
no.
Airbnb in this building." So it was a $5,000 fine. Lost my security deposit, paid the 5K, got kicked out of that Airbnb, and and then wanted to really revamp how I did everything. So I started partnering with homeowners rather than renting them. And then everything kind of took off from there. But more or less, one of my biggest things that helped me was transitioning. I wouldn't say I transitioned fully out of SMMA, but I spent more time building my own brand because I could see in 2017 that personal brands were super, super important. Looking at Ty Lopez, an example, Grant Cardone and Gary Vee, they all started building up their personal brands. And like, these guys could sell everything from shoelaces to whatever they want to say. People are going to listen. I'm like, the guy with the attention or the female with the attention is going to be the one that people are actually going to listen to. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's do this. So I started literally every day, following and unfollowing, commenting, and just reaching out to people in my industry. And so I have another account on Instagram. It's Braydon Ross. So I built that one from 0 to 74,000 followers or something. And then I have the Mr. Airbnb one, which actually started as a travel luxury page because I found that people want to follow something, get free information, and be like engulfed in that, like, I don't know, that space where I don't have to sell them anything. They're not watching a person. They're just enjoying looking at pictures. And like, I started it that way. And yeah, I got it to up to 100K. And then I kind of switched Mr. Airbnb onto it. So there's a lot more details in between, but like, yeah, it's super.
So how did you transition out of the SMMA? Did you, and for anyone who's listening who doesn't know what that is, the social media marketing agency. So obviously a lot of work goes into it. You're juggling the Airbnb on the side and Bitcoin and your personal life. And then you've got the social media agency where you're trying to manage VAs helping you doing the work and managing and interacting with the clients. How did you transition out of that? Did you sell it or did you just kind of let it fizzle out?
I didn't sell it. And the reason why is because I'm still a new entrepreneur, I'd consider. I mean, I'm only 4 years in full time being an entrepreneur like this. So it more so turned into, I basically gave it over to another marketing company, which I take like a royalty from. And they just take care of the client for me because I wanted to spend more time building my own brand. So I started doing that. But one key component that helped me, was actually getting like recognized by Ty. So Ty Lopez. And
how did that happen?
Yeah. So this is how it happened. GrowthCon 2. I'm traveling around and I'm in like Miami, Bahamas. I'm just traveling by myself, New York. And then my friend's like, yeah, come over to Las Vegas. I'll get you a ticket to GrowthCon. Sweet. So we go to GrowthCon. This is 2018 and is in Mandalay Bay. And I wanted to go meet one person. That was Ty. And I watched him speak on stage, and Naveen Jain was speaking, all these great speakers, and Ezra Firestone. So it was really cool to see all these successful people. But I walked out, I was tired. I was going back to my hotel, and I see this crowd of people. This guy has a hood on. And then there's this like really, really big black guy. And I'm like, shit, I think that's Rome. So Rome's his bodyguard at the time. And then I see like these two other guys like filming some funny skits. And I'm like, that guy's Ginger. I think that's Zach. I think that's his friend. So Zach's like his best friend that he grew up with, and he works with Ty. So like, holy crap, that's Ty. So I'm talking to Gary Cardone, which is Grant's brother. We were near the poker room, like, holy cow, that guy looks like Grant. So I walk up to him, like, he's like, no, I'm Gary. I'm like, okay. So
he probably gets that all the time, being his twin.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, nice. So we started talking a little bit. I turn around, I see Ty, and I'm like, okay, hey, nice meeting you, basically. And I walk over. My friend pulls out his phone. My phone was dead at the time, and starts interviewing Ty, just asking him questions about his success. And then I was like, hey, Ty, like I made like 35K in my first week of doing your social media marketing agency. And it's actually on my Instagram, on my highlights, that exact video.
Yeah.
There's a group of people around us. And then he looked back, and I'm like, oh shit, he noticed. And then he pulled out his phone. He's like, hey, can you say that again? Because it's obviously good for his own promotion.
Yeah. Testimonial.
He pulls out his phone, and he's like, can you repeat what you said? And so I said it again. And then he put it up on his Instagram and his Twitter and his Snapchat that night. And people were like blowing me up, like, hey, you're on Ty Lopez's his social media, and like, that's crazy, man. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. But as we were walking, his manager, Alec, was like, hey, like, we want to use it as a testimonial. What's your email? So I give him my email. I'm like, this guy's never gonna remember me. So he takes down the email. I don't hear back from them for like a good year. The year goes by. I'm just laying in bed on a Sunday night, and I see Ty walking with this other guy in London.
Were you watching on his Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
I was watching Instagram. So I comment, he on this guy's video that he's like, hey, this guy's making 6 figures a month from my SMMA program here in London. I'm like, hey, Ty, do you remember me from GrowthCon last year? And then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, Kate, this is weird. I have a message from Gary Vee's team and Gary Vee, as well as Ty Lopez and his team. I'm like, how the heck did this happen? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So Ty's team's like, hey, like, we remember you from last year. Ty noticed your comment. He wants to fly you out to Beverly Hills tomorrow. I'm not from any of that sort of stuff. Like, I grew up like totally normal. So like, this is amazing. Like
Beverly Hills, where all the celebs live, right?
Yeah. All the celebrities live there. So then I checked my other message and I got a message from Team Gary Vee and Gary Vaynerchuk, and it's just saying, hey, we're looking for like ambassadors to help with our like shoe branding for the K-Swiss thing. And like, we noticed you and we want to be able to send you product and just want to welcome you in and sort of thing if you're open to it. I'm like, this is awesome, like getting noticed. That same time I had sent Elena Cardone a message saying, hey, can you thank Grant for like helping me kind of get to that next level and entice me to actually start doing not just coaching, but building my businesses more. And like, Grant will never see this. And so I had a shout out from Grant that same day. It was like crazy. So this is all on my Instagram too. You can see it in my highlights.
Yeah.
And basically I was out in LA the next day and they ask a lot of questions. Like, when you're working with Ty, he makes you take a personality quiz first. So you have the Hexacode, Dark Triad, Myers-Briggs, all built into one personality test. So you're not just like some weirdo.
So it's custom test.
Fully custom. Yeah.
Cool.
And basically I took the test. They said your results came back fine. Then I had to go get a CPA letterhead to show that I actually made the money that I said I did. So it wasn't a lie. Then I had to pull out the contracts and basically show that, yeah, this is actually the client, and get the client's number so they could verify that what I was saying was true.
Imagine if you had lied. Like this goes to show that it's good not to exaggerate or inflate your results, because you could get these opportunities and you think, yeah, I'm onto a winner, I'm going to meet Ty, and I've bullshitted my way there, and then you get busted. That would be more embarrassing than if you hadn't met him in the first place.
And there's a few guys that do that, that come through and try to like become a coach, but they reach out to their team and like they don't pass, like not all the boxes check off. So it's just kind of embarrassing. But yeah, I got there and we filmed SMMA and it was awesome just meeting the team. I made very good friends with his mother actually. And we were just like talking about like healthy foods all night, just making food and stuff. It was super cool. And then Alex Mayer was there, met Dr. Alex. I didn't really know him at the time. So he's like, hey, you want to get on this Mentor Box thing? Later did I find out Mentor Box is like an awesome company.
Yeah.
And so, we filmed SMMA. And while I was filming SMMA, I said, hey guys, like my main passion is Airbnb. I'm filming social media marketing for lead gen here, but like you should think about rental arbitrage. Like, what is that? And so some of his team members went and got some Airbnbs in LA. And then that following January, I get a call back and Alex like, hey, we interviewed 37 other Airbnb hosts that have more properties than you. But we really liked your teaching style. And I'd like to bring you out to New York. Ty just moved there and he wants to film an Airbnb course. So we created the home sharing management company course. Came up with the name over sushi, basically. We didn't know what to call it. We're like SMMA, HSMC. So it just makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the whole story. And yeah.
So what happened with Gary Vee? So did he see your comment with Ty or something?
No, his team stumbled across me. I don't know how that happened. It was just one of those coincidental things.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just putting my phone on airplane mode here.
That's okay.
Coincidental things that just happened. So it's super exciting just for me because I'm from Canada. So it's not like I find a lot of like these major influencers in quotations or people that are like online are all from the United States. I feel like a lot of them are.
A lot of them. Yeah. Even I'm from Australia, and a lot of the cool guys, the cool kids in online are from the US. But you know, the US is the incubator for these types of companies, social media companies. So they get online earlier and they can build their followings earlier. And I think it's just a bigger country, like bigger population. So that's only natural.
Yeah, I know. It's nice being around that, like those kind of people. But of course, like just in California, there's more people that live in California than all of Canada. So there's way more opportunity there. And especially with what I'm doing now, I've come so I could say so far compared to like when I rented that first property and got fined from that one homeowner, this association, and to where everything's at now, teaching all these people that I've taught, but actually spending more time on the business than actually teaching. I love teaching because I can share what I'm doing, there's nothing worse than listening to a teacher that doesn't actually do the business.
Yeah, I
Like,
agree. It's like, would you take advice from a doctor who smokes cigarettes, or would you listen to an overweight PT? So, it's
yeah,
definitely important, I believe, to listen to people who have the results you want. It's like, your financial future depends on who you take advice from. If you want to live like a king, then you need to go and find that king and follow in their footsteps, find that mentor. So we're in the
yeah.
present. We're in the present now. We're talking to Braydon in 2020. So where you're at now, you're managing a bunch of Airbnbs. You're not doing SMMA anymore. Do you get royalties from Ty's courses? Like, since you help film them?
I can't actually tell you that,
Oh,
but yeah, it's kind of like,
it would be cool if you did.
well, we sign agreements, right? Like there's
Of
only so much
course.
we can say. But yes, if you have some sort of like upsell, which I did at one point, I've taken it out of the course. So I had my Airbnb coaching as an upsell within the HSMC, and so there would be some sort of JV that way.
Yeah.
Of course, they pay for your flights, your food, and coming out and spending money and all that stuff. But yeah, there is, if you have an upsell, typically a kickback that way. I don't know about all the other coaches and whatnot, from like Stephen Lau to even I brought in Brian Page. He's also an Airbnb person.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's people get kickbacks depending on what agreement they have specifically with Ty.
Yeah, cool. Cool, cool. So what are you doing now? So how many Airbnbs do you have under management? And how did you build up to that? Like you said, do you now partner with the owners themselves? So you talk to the owners directly? And if so, how? Because in Australia, a lot of owners don't want to deal with civilians. They want real estate companies to manage the properties for them.
100%. No, I know the struggle. There's a lot of gatekeepers, and that's usually the first question. Well, where everything's at now, like I've taught thousands of people in the Airbnb space. I have my Bnb PhD I'm working relentlessly at, coming out June 2nd, which is just like an 8-week thing. So anybody can kind of learn, how to.
B&B PhD, is that from Airbnb?
No,
Is that
no.
something you offer?
What's that?
What is Airbnb PhD?
No, so BNB, I created a course, a coaching program called BNB Masters last year. And I thought, school, well, what's the highest level in school? What's catchy? BNB PhD. So I'm like, I'm going to show people not just how to rent property and get owners permission, but how to actually partner with homeowners, boutique hotels, corporate
Yeah.
housing companies, and pretty much everything you could think about. And so that's what it is. BNB PhD is like the more advanced version of.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
so that's your school that you're helping other people do what you've done, which is really awesome that you're giving them your secrets, because that's rewarding, as we discussed before the podcast. But um yeah, I guess, like, how many properties do you have now under management?
Yeah.
And what kind of dollars are you generating through Airbnb?
Totally. Yeah. And I'm 100% transparent with this stuff because like people just are scared to talk about taxes and money a lot of the time too. And so how this works, how this flowed into it was, I had this student, his name is Otis. And Otis is older than me. I think he's like 43. He's probably going to kill me if he ever hears this. Uh, and he's like, I'm really into this. I could tell he was keen. He's also from Canada, the other side in Oakville, in Ontario, near Toronto. And he's like, I want to work with you, but I want to show you kind of like what I can do, if I can bring in some people. I'm like, I don't want to buy properties right now. I don't want to rent properties. I don't want any sort of liability or risk. I just simply want to partner with companies or homeowners. I'm like, if you can make that happen, great. So he ends up reaching back out to me early December and is like, hey, Braydon, I got a company interested. They're in St. Bart's. I'm like, I have no idea what St. Bart's is. What's St. Bart's? He's like, it's near the British Virgin Islands. I'm like, okay, but I don't know what St. Bart's is. He's like, it's a little island. It's like a celebrity hideaway. Grant Cardone, Kevin Hart, and actually Jeff Bezos went there last year and took a vacation. I'm like, okay, well, that's probably why I never heard of it, because, that's the 1% of the 1%. So I'm like, these houses
Yeah.
must be pretty expensive. He's like, yeah, honestly, most people could probably go there. It's like starts at $5,000 a week, but goes all the way up to $250,000 a week. So I'm like, wow, that's very expensive. So he's like, I got a company interested, but I need your help. I need you to hop on a call. I'll make a PowerPoint. I created a company called Bnb Concierges. I want you to be the co-founder. Companies at 0 properties at that, or sorry, 1 property in Oakville at that point.
Yeah.
Then he got a second one. And then we really wanted to go big. So I'm like, well, he's like, I don't understand how the systems work on the back end. For anybody listening, the systems that we use are called Guesty. So Guesty is an all-in-one automation platform that allows you to write your customer reviews, your guest check-in, check-out, as well as cleaners delegation. So you can
Yeah.
automate like 90% of your business using just this software.
Cool.
So I said, Otis, if we're going to get these people on as a client, if they're interested, they're probably not going to sign on for 30%, probably not even 20, but maybe 15. And we could see, because what they've done, and our partner is actually, they're like the biggest people in St. Bart's. They have 230 properties. And that's how we got to $1 billion under management very quickly. So we ended up getting a partnership deal. I hop on the phone with the owners. We're going back and forth for a good month, and made sure the contracts made sense. And so they said, we'll give you 230 properties. My no-brainer offer was, we will not charge you any setup fees, legal fees. We're also not going to charge you any ongoing fees. It's not like social media marketing. All we're going to do is just drive reservations to your open days that you guys aren't booked out. And we're going to only take 15% and give you 85%. And we'll give you an additional 10% on top of that, which we just charge the Airbnb guests anyway.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, what if we could put you on every major short-term rental platform that you're not already on, or maybe you're not on any, which happened they weren't on any, they were just exclusive to their own website. And we could get you more bookings. And like I said, we're not looking for exclusivity. We're not looking to just take your properties from the homeowners that you have agreements with. You guys have been around for 25 years. We're not looking to do that. We're just looking to bring you more business. So it's like, yeah, why not? We have nothing to lose. So we actually spent the last 5.5 months, like we just launched all those 230 properties, building out a system. We hired a developer that worked within Guesty. And then he would actually take, and this is a little more advanced, but he would take their custom website that would talk to Guesty. Guesty's like the hub, the nuclei that talks to something called Rentals United. Rentals United is the platform that allows you to put your property on VRBO, HomeAway, Expedia, Airbnb, and all the other platforms. So this system talks to this system that talks to this system that talks to all the other systems. And so when they get a booking through their reservation system, we had to think about this for so long, their reservation system, it automatically blocks off the days on all the platforms that we're using. And then anybody who books through us, they send a reservation request and an email gets sent to our partner and they accept the reservation and block off the day on their calendar, which in turn accepts the reservation here. So it's called a one-way API. A two-way would automatically do it. So we had to figure out this whole jigsaw puzzle that I've never seen anywhere online. And most people just go rent a property, get the owner's permission, make anything over what you're paying in rent, and that's your profit. It's very simple business model.
Yeah.
And so we actually just launched all 230 of those properties last night. So out of the test that we did with 11 properties, we had if I actually pull it up, I think it was $18,000 reservation within the first like 10 minutes. Cool. We're like, holy cow, I think we have something here. Yeah. So we would take 15% of that. Guesty actually has a 24/7 communication service. And no, I'm not paid by Guesty. I'm not an affiliate. They're just a great platform. They have a 24/7 communication service that allows you to be completely hands-off. If the customer needs anything, you train the VAs that work within Guesty to answer all questions. If the reservation's above 10 grand, but they want to bring a pet, what do we do? What happens if they lose the key? Where's the spare key? Things like that. Yeah. So they take care of all that for 5%, and we take 10%, and that would be our profit. So we'd make $1,800 on a 1-week stay. That 18K is for 1 week. Yeah. And so times that by 230 properties. Our cheapest property is $5,000. Everything's in US dollars too, so it's a lot better for us Canadians. And then our highest one is $275,000 for the week. So we're like, we finally have something up. It's actually brand new with what we're doing there. But for the most part, we just signed another partnership deal with a company in Ibiza. I know it's Ibiza.
I thought it was Ibiza from the song.
Ibiza.
Who knows?
Yeah, so we have 230 with St. Bart's. We have 187 plus another 50 that are exclusive that can't go on Airbnb. So that's 237 in Ibiza. I don't even care. Everybody says it differently. And then we have some in Cabarete and Punta Cana. I think we have 32 properties there with a company called Seahorse Ranch. That's one of our partners.
Cool.
And then we are about to sign 87 units in a boutique hotel in Brazil. We ended up bringing on some guys that do basically sales with us. Yeah. They work off a commission because there's more money in the long run for them anyway.
Yeah. So you've got a bunch of properties all around the US and Canada. Is that right?
Actually, I used to have, we used to do a lot of them in southern part of US, like Orlando, Tampa, Miami, that kind of area. But actually, no, most of our properties, we specialize in villas and luxury boutique hotels. Mm-hmm. And we deal with like the Caribbean islands. We have 50 in Italy right now as well.
All around the world.
all around the world. We want to
Cool.
be as international as possible. We're about to sign another 125 tomorrow.
So that means that you can travel and it's all tax deductible.
Yeah, it is. But either way, you're asking for exact numbers. So I don't, I'm going to give you a little bit of a range, but I also personally work with a boutique hotel in Edmonton, and they have a sister hotel in Squamish Valley, which is near Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
And so combined, I'm going to say somewhere over the 600, 700 unit mark. And so in terms of like revenue on something like that, because the operation is so new, I'm going to give an easy example for people that maybe just want to get involved with Airbnb. On the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, the one here in Calgary, for example, that property has consistently done 45,000 to 52,000 in that range every year for the past like 3.5, 4 years. And so my costs on that property are about 22,000 a year, including tax. So I put about 15% aside for tax. Of course, sometimes it can be higher, but I deduct everything because I put everything through my company.
Yeah,
And
cool.
so people go, well, do I need multiple LLCs or corporations? No, you can run this through one corporation. If you're buying property, it'd be a little bit different.
Yeah.
But to make a doctor's wage on Airbnb, if you're doing the rental arbitrage model, so I rent the property, I pay rent, and anything over that is my profit, is usually about 5 units, to be honest. That's about 100.
I've done that before. I used to live in an apartment that was highly desirable, like for weekend stays. It was like 58th floor, so it was really high up view of the city. And I would rent it out on Airbnb on the weekends, and I would take off to a friend's place for a couple of nights. It was awesome. Pay my whole weeks.
The owner didn't care. He's just like, whatever.
I didn't tell the owner.
Didn't find out. Hey?
It's probably illegal, but
yeah, it's definitely illegal if you don't get it.
The owner was getting his rent paid, but yeah, it was early Airbnb days, and I thought, well, not early, but I thought this Airbnb thing's so cool, I want to try it out. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's that's what a lot of people are doing. Honestly, most Airbnb hosts don't own their property. It's a lot of renters that simply don't even ask their landlord, or if they do, they later get their permission after they find out. I've had some students that didn't tell the landlord and they ended up getting evicted. But realistically, what they're doing, and the actual term for it is called a master lease agreement, where they're giving you full permission to re-rent that property.
Yeah.
Some people may consider it a sublease. It's actually technically not a sublease, because it's like me staying at a hotel and saying, am I actually subleasing this room, subletting it? I'm not signing any sort of lease agreement or tenant undertaking form.
Yeah,
so the guest is not.
You're just staying
it's not
there.
My guest. It's Airbnb's guest.
Yeah, I could have done it privately and just found a guest privately, but obviously I used a global platform because it's a much better way of finding the guest. But I think it's awesome. I think these businesses that have no inventory are really changing the world, like Uber, Airbnb, Amazon. Yeah, it's really incredible how the internet's changing things.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's a new one called Parked, Parkd, and they're renting out parking stalls.
Cool. There's plenty of those. I think Australia actually has some of the most expensive parking in the world. I think a day or even a few hours in parking in the city here is 70 Australian dollars.
How much?
70. It's crazy. But yeah, and then street parking is anywhere from like $2 to $5 an hour, and you just put the coins in. Yeah.
That's like us. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can choose whether or not to answer this or not. But I saw somewhere I was researching you wanted to be a millionaire by 25. Did you achieve your goal?
Yes, I did.
Awesome. Virtual high five. That's awesome.
Yeah, last year was my big growth year. The pace I was on, and I'll be transparent, like the pace I was on in my first 2 years wouldn't have made me to that level. But, a lot of people consider themselves millionaires if they made $1 million in revenue. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like $1 million, like net
worth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm not talking just cash in the bank, none of that. Because a lot of millionaires, they'll spend their money and invest it in assets that make them money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I achieved the goal. I always had this thing in my mind where when I was a kid, I'm like, I want to live downtown. I want to be in a high-rise apartment. I want to drive a cool car. And I just want to be this awesome, like, businessman. I'll even dress up. And then as you get older, you're like, it's not as straight lined as you thought it would be.
Yeah.
But what really helped me catapult was actually pushing all the bullshit aside and like actually just focusing on my craft, focusing
Yeah.
on Airbnb. And like I labeled myself as the Airbnb guy, not the Forex or
Yeah.
any other sort of person out there. I'm Airbnb. So I got into it. I did it heavy. And last year was a great year. But I want this year to be even better. It didn't start as good as I thought it would.
Yeah.
My industry is heavily affected. But that's
I think the slingshot back from what's happened there will be really awesome for Airbnb.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I also just want to go back to what you said about focus, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, and you know, even yourself, you said you were doing multiple things. You were doing the SMMA, Bitcoin, Airbnb. You had your fingers in multiple pieces of the pie, and you weren't really like getting there. And it wasn't
Mhm.
until you cut the crap and you it wasn't crap, but you just focused and honed in on Airbnb, which was obviously what you really enjoyed, that really has helped you propel, you know, and create a great future for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly.
How did you so I guess like for some people they may be wondering, why did you choose Airbnb instead of SMMA or instead of focusing on Bitcoin?
Don't get me wrong. Honestly, I love, I think online marketing is so fun. Like I have Russell Brunson's new book in front of me, Traffic Secrets.
Yeah.
And I read that like it's a religion. And so, you know, what people consider the Bible to them, like marketing is kind of like my Bible on the back end. And so
Yeah.
learning how people work, you know, your cognitive biases and understanding funnels and all these great things, um, it's like a game to me, but a game that I know I can actually impact with. And so, why did I give up SMMA and do Airbnb? Um, because I wanted to spend more time building my own brand, and I felt I was really consumed by building other people's brands that I couldn't spend the time I actually wanted, even if I was delegating. The clients always want your attention, especially doing marketing. In most marketing
Yeah.
agencies, there's high turnover rates because what the client expects versus what the marketer is saying a lot of the time doesn't meet.
Mm.
And so that wasn't the case with me. It was more so of a case like, hey guys, I've done what I need to do with you. I learned. Now I'm going to spend the time and invest in my own brand. Um, and honestly, Airbnb, I just remember being like a little kid and like loving going to hotels and jumping on the bed and wanting to go swimming and all these great things. And so when I think of Airbnb, it allows me to be like my mini hotel, like have mini hotels anywhere I go. And I think it's fascinating saying, you know, at 25, I don't need to be a billionaire to have $1 billion under management in Airbnbs. And
Mm.
so I can take my cell phone and build an Airbnb business. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. And that's not a lie. Like I can do everything from this phone. And I can connect with the people I want. And one of the most utilized tools that I think people just aren't using, the little brother of the social media world, is LinkedIn. People aren't using LinkedIn, and that's what really created a lot of my success, was just connecting through LinkedIn with the decision makers and not waiting on these B2B connections through Instagram.
Yeah. And also when you're approaching hotels and managers and receptionists and things like that, there's a good way to bypass them as well. And a lot of people ask me, Braydon, like, how do you get these amazing guests on your podcast? Well, I'll tell you how I got Braydon. I messaged him on Airbnb and I said, hey, I like what you're doing. And we had a bit of a chat and we hooked up a meeting. Like,
Yeah.
I think people are really afraid to ask, and they're trying to conceptualize every step of the way rather than just stepping the steps and seeing what happens. And
Yeah.
I think like as you go higher, it gets scarier to take steps, but it's important just to keep stepping forward and learning as you go, um, to progress to where you want to be.
No, I have to agree 100%. Yeah, I mean, Airbnb may not be your thing for anybody who's going to listen to this, but you know, real estate as a whole has made more millionaires than any other industry that I know.
Yeah,
Bitcoin might surpass that because there's going to be a lot of people with crypto. But you know, it's a safe play long term. You can buy real estate. One of the things we do now is we created a program with a guy named Jeff Seckinger, myself, and another one of Ty Lopez's guys, Zach Ross. Created a company called Credit Bnb, and we take 0% credit cards in the United States specifically. And that means you don't pay any interest on a credit card for 12 months, but you can take the cash, liquidate that cash through sites like plastic.com or even PayPal at 2.9%, and turn that into cash that you can use to purchase property. You can find homeowners that want to sell their property and not even need to qualify for mortgages. They're called seller finance deals. And so that's where Airbnb is getting to, I think, for me. We have the management. We have the marketing side of things, but owning these properties, but using none of my own cash and needing no hard money lenders.
Yeah.
Who the heck doesn't want to own real estate? Who the heck doesn't want to pay off a property and be sitting on a $250,000 property and pay it off in 5 years because Airbnb afforded you the ability to do it? Like, it
Yeah.
just makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
it's a really cool financial plan, and I think what you're saying, Braydon, you've mapped out your future as well. So like, how have you got your whole life mapped out, or is it like
no.
5-10 years? But obviously, it's important, right, to have your life mapped out
Yeah.
and to have a personal brand and
Yeah.
and a business that you probably wouldn't have seen this credit Bnb opportunity 5 years ago, but now because you're in the game and you're stepping forward, these opportunities are presenting.
Yeah.
So yeah, how actively are you networking? So a lot of people say your network is your net worth. Like, do you network with every single person you meet, like the restaurant owner, the taxi driver, or do you like, how do you like to network?
My car helps me network, and I don't blast it on my Instagram wall. Like, that's not what I want people to be focused on. I want them to be focused on the actual anticipation of building a business.
What is your car, by the way? Because I know it's your dream car.
Yeah, I bought a Lamborghini for my birthday.
What make is it? Sorry, model.
It's called a Gallardo Superleggera. So it's like
I know the
a
one.
limited model. I was gonna get like a 2019, but I wanted something different. So it's like got carbon fiber everywhere. It feels like a spaceship, and people love it. And so when you talked about your view, that's what brings me joy, is when I can stop, and anywhere I go, people want to take pictures. I let them sit in the car. I even let people drive the car. Like, I'm not that kind of guy. Like, don't touch my stuff. Like, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
No, it helps me because I have my little logo on the back window, and a majority of my following on Instagram, and I searched it last week, is actually in Calgary. That's my city. And so I was like, wow, like, I've never ran paid ads here in my city. I think one time I did for like
Yeah.
$500. But it's just when you make organic connections offline, even, you'll find those people are more interested in your life because they actually met who that person was behind whatever they watch every day. Because we treat our cell phones like TV, and our TV is really the radio at this
It's the
point.
highlights.
Yeah, it's the highlights. Yeah. So I think for me, I'm not saying don't do the online marketing world. I found most of my success in Instagram stories, like not posting my Instagram, anything like that, but the stories, because people's attention spans like 3 seconds. And you can catch someone's eye. Hey guys, I'm going out for a run today. Anybody else want to join my challenge? Like, just getting people enticed. And that's where people's attention is focused. And TikTok's killing it because obviously, the organic reach is awesome. And it's exhilarating, it's exciting, it's on demand, and I can go to new people every second.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
I do love TikTok.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've partnered with a bunch of different people. Like you just told me you've partnered with various people, like Jeff. I follow him as well. He's really cool, and Ty Lopez at one point. How do you know that these are good people to partner with? Because sometimes not everybody has good intentions or believes in fair exchange. So how do you choose a good person? Because good business partner.
Well, we all have to learn the hard way. I mean, every once in a while, you'll find we have all been betrayed. One thing Ty Lopez taught me was, if you want to catch someone's attention, you're in a room and it's really awkward, or you don't know what to talk about, bring up a story of a time that you were betrayed or somebody let you down. Because when you think back to a best friend or a business partner or somebody you thought was close, you trusted, at one point or another, we've all been betrayed.
Yeah.
And it's just part of life. So for me, I didn't have any partners for the first couple. Like, this is the first time that I really dove in and actually really tried to build a business with somebody. It's a marriage, basically.
Yeah.
And how do you choose those people? I test them. Like, I test people's knowledge. I test their personality. And how do I do that? We go on a few dates. Like, we don't just talk once a week. We have to talk every day. And I want to know what you're doing. What are you doing outside of business? What's your family life look like? Because if your family life's falling apart, then your business is probably going to fall apart too. And so I want to know where's your attention focused. And so the person that I'm partnered with right now, Otis, he proved results to me prior. I didn't actually partner officially on paper with him for several months because I wanted to see if that was a priority for him. If it was a priority for him, then maybe he just wanted me to use my name and get me on there for leverage. But no, he wanted to actually show me that he could do the work, and he's done an excellent job. And Jeff Seckinger, I have hundreds of people who have told me that all he does is great business. I went to San Diego and spoke at his mastermind last December.
Yeah.
And met Jeff and Ravi in person. And I'm like, you know what, Jeff, you should come to my mastermind in Miami. And we just had like a little boot camp in January, and he came out. It wasn't anything big. It was like 15 people, very small. And that showed me that he was truly interested in my business and who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And so he's very straightforward, straight to the point. And we thought of that credit Bnb thing literally standing on a dock in that mastermind in like 2 minutes. And like, this thing is going to work. So we've done it, and it actually works. And yeah, I don't just want to partner with anybody. A lot of the time I would say now is don't partner with what you can hire. Like, what are they bringing to the table that you can't just outsource to somebody else for less?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great tip. Great question to ask yourself.
Yeah.
So we've spoken about a lot of your successes and a lot of your wins, which has been incredible. And I'm sure a lot of people are learning a lot. I am, for sure. What's something, like, I won't call it a mistake, but a great lesson that you've learned and from maybe doing something wrong or screwing up somewhere that people can learn from?
Yeah, there's lots. Like there's
what's a highlight?
There's lots. Like, yeah, it's not, business isn't pretty all the time, period. It's just not.
Well, you said you were cleaning the Airbnbs yourself, and I'm sure that wasn't glamorous, but it was part of the job.
Yeah, you know, for me at the time, I was trying to make $5,000 to $8,000 a month was the goal consistently.
Yeah.
So I was like, how the heck can I make $5,000 to $8,000 a month? If I can save $1,000 a month in these cleaning fees, then that gives me extra money to put away to get another Airbnb. And so that was my thought process. But I realized the hour that I would spend or 2 hours that I'd spend on cleaning, if I had a business that I could actually make more money than, you know, $50 or whatever they paid for cleaning, then it's not worth me cleaning anymore. So it took time to get to different levels. And I think once you get to a level, if you're like, my goal is to make 10 grand a month, you'll always find a way once you reach that 10K a month to make 10K a month because you know how to do it now.
Yeah.
If you want to get to 100K a month, it's not easy. Like, I remember I cracked 100 grand a month last year for the first time. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I wanted to grow up and be an engineer, be a doctor, be an accountant, something that made money. But it was more important to me the money that I was making than the actual profession that I was doing. But that's because I had no experience in what life actually was. And so when I achieved that goal, it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to show off all this stuff. That's not about it. It was the fact that I couldn't believe what my parents and all my friends told me was like, oh, this is definitely not possible. Like, there's no way somebody could do that.
Yeah.
And then I got friends that 10x that, 100x that, and that's nothing to them.
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing because I remember thinking making $1,000 a month was amazing coming out of high school. And so it just levels to this game. And I just find it fascinating, like, where you could take this whole business and, like, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You could sell potato peelers and still make a good living. Like,
yeah. I think that's important, but it's important to stick to one thing. Otherwise people get confused about who you are. Like you said, personal branding is really important before. So, you didn't tell us about a key learning. What's a mistake that you made that you're willing to share? That's okay.
I like telling story. So my biggest mistake, I tried to go really big with Airbnb last year. And I did it with another partner at the time, and he was a student, and we wanted to create like some sort of like where I would rent the properties, just like we said before, but do it on a larger scale. Like, I've heard of people renting like $5,000 a month houses, but making 15 grand a month. I'm like, this is going to be awesome. So I did exactly that. We created a fund, and we wanted people to invest in the fund. So we had a ton of people, not a ton, actually, I wouldn't say a ton. We had a handful of people that came in and actually wanted to work with us. So they would invest, we would find a property, furnish it, manage it on Airbnb. My voice cracked. My voice is super dry. I've been talking all day. I'm out of water. So manage it on Airbnb. But the issue is that we were using the properties in Miami. So we'd go after like these big houses, and they were like 10 to 15, even up to 20 grand a month with the bills. And so, you know, you're paying for first month's rent, 2 security deposits usually on these big houses, and furnishing. You're like 60 to 70 grand right off the bat. And then you're at 90 grand a month in bills, ongoing with rent and all these other bills. So it's like, if you don't make enough for rent, what are you going to do? Well, amateur mistake. You know what I mean? So I step in, we set all this up, and it's last June, July, and basically we didn't realize it was hurricane season. We didn't realize that
Oh
in
no.
Miami, people aren't traveling to Miami in those summer months from like May to November as much, and November to the end of April is like busy season, especially
Yeah.
January and February. So we realized really quick that we weren't covering enough for all the bills, and we were losing houses one after another.
Oh
So we
no.
ended up getting 8 houses down, 7 houses there, and one in Orlando near Disney. And that was a complete failed operation, just to completely put it out there. And I learned the hard way that why put yourself in a position of risk when I could just partner with these homeowners, not involve other people in my operation? Because for me personally, I don't want to lose other people's money. I don't care if I lose my money, but if I lose
Yeah.
other people's money, it feels worse. So I've done my best to try to help everybody out that was involved. And you know what? We all learned. We even said, you know what? It was a big learning curve. It was a mistake. We all fucked up, and we're moving on. And so Bnb Concierges was born from the premise of what I did wrong, and Otis and I basically created the company that way to not have to rent or buy these properties. And so my biggest failure to date is that.
Yeah. Oh, that's an incredible learning, and from it has been born this new incredible business, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have created that if you hadn't learned. So
No.
it's a lesson more than a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, for one question, I like to flip it, Braydon. So where you ask me a question, it can be about business, and a lot of people ask me about my why. We can diverge from that for a different
Yeah.
context. But what's the question you have for me?
I would say, like, I know what your goal is with Trillions, to interview $1 trillion worth of people coming on here.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you recently seen like Joe Rogan and Spotify $100 million deal.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So Joe Rogan he's on the podcast only on Spotify. They paid him $100 million. And so that was 2 days ago.
Crazy.
So would you sell your podcast if it got to that level? Or are you doing this just because you love doing it? What's the goal for you?
So he sold the podcast to Spotify?
While he's doing it, it's just exclusive with Spotify.
So he doesn't, he's not on Apple anymore?
No, he can't be.
But he wasn't he?
Yeah.
Interesting. Would I sell it for 100 million exclusively? I would consider it. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do this to help other people at the moment, and I don't have a monetization goal, which is interesting because it's one of the first times that I haven't had a monetization plan or goal, and opportunities are coming my way. So that's really interesting. But if I got it to a point and I was consistent with it, and it got to a point where somebody approached me and offered me money, I would definitely consider it for sure. I think 100 million is a life-changing number, and if you've been doing something for free for all these years, then it's kind of like back paying you, which I think
Totally.
I think it's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd definitely consider it.
And I'm pretty sure I got my facts straight about what I just told you, but you can double check. But it was $100 million deal with Spotify, and I seen that and I was like, holy cow.
Yeah, I think that at the moment my podcast is a bit of a passion project, just a project that I'm really enjoying, and a lot of people are benefiting from, and I'm getting lots of feedback, which is cool. I'm meeting incredible people like yourself and connecting all around the world with a purpose. Like it's a bit more of a win-win than, hey, Braydon, let's just have a chat. Like, why don't we record the chat and then people can learn from it? I think that when you're bringing massive amounts of value like Joe Rogan, then and a company like Spotify is offering him money, he's obviously created so much value that Spotify sees that and they've put a dollar figure on it. And I think that's great. He's been rewarded for his hard work. So that's cool.
Awesome. No, I was just curious because I just wanted to know your end goal. Like, what's your goal out of all this?
Well, I don't have a monetization goal for Trillions, but for me personally, I'm writing a book. Braydon, I've had like a lot of experiences in my life. I'm 30, so a little older than you. I've had but from my early my early life really, like I've experienced a lot of things I believe are interesting. Well, I don't personally believe they're super interesting, but my partner's like, holy hell, you've done so much in a short period of time. Like I've had 50 plus jobs. I've lived in Shanghai, China, and taught English to 2-year-olds without a teaching background. I played like semi-pro soccer for 12
Wow.
years and all different things. And I've dated men, I've dated women, and been in love both times. So I think it's an interesting life that I've lived, and I've had other, like abusive things happen to me as well. So I think that the fact that I've lived and I've got through that, and I'm still like, I don't feel like I'm a victim of circumstance, can really empower other people. Like Molly's Game, I recently watched that, and it was just so touching to me because she built something and she left that experience with integrity and refused to rat
Yeah.
on people to for her own benefit. And I
Yeah.
really respect her for that. And I think that what she built was really cool. She took a lot of risks, man. Like mafia at a poker table, that's
Yeah.
that's ballsy.
Yeah.
So I think that by sharing stories, which is what we did before we had internet, like when we're living off the land, as monkeys, and sharing stories is a really empowering way of helping other people picture themselves in your shoes, and then say, hey, if she can get through it, or your Braydon can get through it, then I can get through it too. And just knowing that you're impacting lives is, like we said before the podcast, it's one of the most rewarding things. Like making money and upgrading your
Yeah.
lifestyle, it's
Yeah.
cool, but the more rewarding thing is doing that for yourself and showing the journey, and then other people going, wow, I can do it too. So that's what my journey is about at the moment.
That's awesome. I mean, 30's young. I have older brothers, 35, two of them,
Yeah.
and that's not a lot of time to do all that, which is fantastic. So I commend you for that.
Thanks. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool. So the last question I like to ask guests is, what's your legacy? Like what do you want to leave when you're gone, Braydon?
Hmm. Yeah. Like that's a hard question to answer at 25, and I get everybody needs aspirations. I think like a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs as a goal collectively, is to change the way we educate ourselves. Like as
Yeah.
an entrepreneur, I would consider myself what's called an autodidact, like a self-taught learner. And I like teaching myself everything like through YouTube and Google. Honestly, that will teach you. YouTube University is amazing.
Yeah.
Probably more than my normal university I went to.
That's
Um,
amazing.
you can learn anything you want. Go to page 1 to 100. It doesn't matter. Not everything's on page one.
I just
And
want to
so,
interject that too. Sorry. There's people on YouTube that have taught me incredible things who have like 1,000 subscribers or
exactly.
10,000 subscribers. So to anyone listening who wants to go on YouTube and teach, do it, because you're probably helping us learn stuff. It doesn't, yeah, you can probably relate, man. You've seen some awesome tutorials from people who don't have many subs.
It's true. And I, honestly, I'd rather watch the guy with 1,000 subscribers than the guy with 1 million, because everybody knows that information with the guy at 1 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I love YouTube, and it's funny. My university teacher asked me when we were doing finals, like, "Hey, Braden, I noticed you never bought. I never bought textbooks in university, not
Yeah.
once ever. I hated doing homework in high school too. That was a long time ago now, but still.
Yeah.
Um, they're like, "What do you do to learn?" I'm like, "YouTube." I'm like, everything you're teaching me is on YouTube, but I can fast forward and replay it if we want. I can do whatever I want. I don't
Yeah.
have to read a book. I just get so bored looking at these textbooks. And I think what people want is and I think this is where the world's going, is augmented reality, virtual reality training. You look at Elon Musk with Neuralink talking about, with Joe Rogan, how you can drill 2 holes in somebody's head, put these like rods in there, and make a person think like a computer. Is it scary? Yes. But I think the world is going to a point where this is thinking more for me than I am thinking for it.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to just make my impact, not just in real estate. I don't want to just be known for that. But if I can utilize the platforms, like I'm sure a lot of other people, if I can utilize a lot of the platforms that people are already using, like Instagram and TikTok, to get a message across that isn't just so out there, meaning like I'm not teaching people how to go buy property with a mortgage. Like I'm just not. I want people to look the other way. I want you to be 16 years old and be a real estate investor. Like
Yeah.
it's possible. And so what was once like, let's buy a home and live here for 30 years, get married and have kids and die, is now like, let's travel the world. Let's rent our cars now, because we're tired of,
Yeah.
we don't want everything to be the same anymore. We want to move around. And
Yeah.
so from 25 to 30 to 35, I think we're all like in that age demographic. We're in the most exciting time in history right now. this transition between technology. If we look at like Moore's law, it doesn't even work anymore because technology moves so quickly that we
Yeah.
can't even keep up with what's coming out. So my goal, my legacy is just to help people, that's so cliche, help people, but educate people with modern technology and help them understand that being self-taught learners and moving away from the traditional education system is okay, as
Yeah.
long as you're putting in the work and you're actually doing something with what you're learning. And 99% of people just won't, and that's fine. But at the same time, I think there needs to be more of a movement that I'd like to be a part of that says it's okay if you're a high school drop. I'm not saying don't go to high school, but if you're a high school dropout and you want to grow a business and be successful with it.
Yeah.
Bobby Castro is one of them. So a guy I met on Instagram, he's a billionaire. He sold his company for 10 figures. He's a high school. I think he dropped out in like grade 9.
Awesome.
He's got
I think there's benefit in that, man, because in high school you're taught that if you can memorize and recite answers, the answers that they want you to memorize, then you win. But if you question that, then you're the outcast. But I actually think the outcast and questioning things is what we need more of, because that's how innovation and new ideas are created and new platforms are created. If we didn't have people thinking outside the box or daring to bring a concept of a mobile phone out of their brain and into physical matter that we carry on in our pockets every day, then lives wouldn't be changed. And as cliche as you said, teaching other people and helping people, it's super cliche, but it's one of the most rewarding things. Even just helping an old lady open a door, it just feels so good helping somebody else. So I think that's an amazing legacy. I think that's a great note to end on. So thank you so much for being on the podcast, Braydon. For anybody who wants to connect with Braydon, his contact details will be in the description below if you're on YouTube or Spotify, Apple, all of those. You're more than happy to have them reach out to you. So all the descriptions in the link below. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, Braydon.
Thank you.